He'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer. So when the Hall of Fame gets here, that first year he's going to go into the Hall of Fame. It's not going to be like the waiting like Terrell Davis. Peyton Manning's going to automatically go in.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's no.
I agree.
Yeah,
him and Brett for sure.
So yeah, we gotta do our last segment here. It's going to be a pretty awesome segment. We're going to talk about the future of the Broncos for the off season. I always say today's the beginning of the season because this is when all the moves start. Free agency's gonna starting. The Broncos have a lot of cap space. There's a lot going on with the Broncos right now, and it's this is an exciting time. The off season is a really exciting time for me because I like to watch it. Plus, I do a blog for a magazine, so the off season is fun because I get to research some of the players in the draft and look at a lot of things. So we're gonna talk about. Look, everybody already knows I rant when I talk about the quarterbacks for the Broncos because they're so upsetting. last year I was so pro Peyton Manning, and I was right. This year I was so pro Paxton Lynch, and I was right. But anyway, so we'll start with Gary this time, and Gary, I want to see what you think looking into the future. Your vision for the Broncos. If you were let's put yourself in John Elway's shoes as the management running the team. What direction do you see the Broncos going in as far as quarterbacking, as far as their coaching situations? What do you see?
Okay, I think the Broncos put together a pretty inspiring offensive staff to boost defensive-minded head coach, Vance Joseph. We got Mike McCoy now, offensive coordinator, formerly a Chargers head coach. Bill Musgrave, quarterback coach, formerly from the Raiders, offensive coordinator.
Formerly a Denver Bronco quarterback.
Yes, sir. Excuse me.
I had to throw that in there. Sorry about that, Gary, but go ahead.
No, I remember him. Brock Levo, special teams coordinator. Now, he's formerly from the Chiefs, special teams coordinator. Then we got Jeff Davidson, offensive line coach, formerly from the Chargers. Then we all know Joe Willis. He's going to be our defensive coordinator. He was defensive back for coach for us. Among many other coaches, like and Denise, I think that the Broncos need to focus more on their offensive line to begin with, and then go from there.
Okay. Do you see them bringing in drafting an offensive lineman, or do you see them?
I do. I do. I think they're looking at a lot of people, and I'm believing in John Elway that he's gonna do that for us, and I think he will. I think he's pretty good at what he does.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree totally. He knows what he's doing. I mean, look what he's done so far. So, yeah, I agree with you there. 100%.
Yeah, I believe the Broncos organization knows what's good for our team, and so I'm putting my trust in Elway.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you're looking at offensive line first. You feel like we got a good coaching staff.
Yes, sir. I do. I do.
Okay. So we're I know that you brought up briefly the defensive back coach moving to defensive coordinator. How do you feel that's going to change with Wade Phillips going to Los Angeles to the Rams?
I don't think there's going to be much change. I think the players, they like Joe Woods. I mean, they played for him for, so they know what he's all about. So, I hated to lose Wade Phillips. I really did. I hated to see him go. I think I would have rather seen him stay, but I think there was some kind of with our new head coach, Vance Joseph. I think him being more of a defensive-minded head coach, that him and Wade had some differences. So I don't know how it's going to work out with Joe Woods, with Vance, Joseph, but I'm hoping for the best.
Well, when I got to talk with Vance Joseph, just briefly, I got 2 or 3 questions in, and I already talked about it. The announcement, what he basically said is he set that vision, and they have the goal, and the goal is to get back to the Super Bowl, and they're going to do everything within their abilities, within their say so to get back. That's the interview that I got. And I got it recorded, and I'm going to play it later on and to see how it works out,
I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, I'm going to play it for everybody because it was pretty
cool.
I caught him off guard. Old CU frat brother, huh? Frat brother from CU, the Buffaloes.
Yeah.
We got Chris Stevens in the house. We want to make sure everybody checks out Chris Stevens on Friday, The Freaks in the Basement. He has an awesome podcast. He's in the chat right now. We didn't see him very much Saturday night. We missed him. he usually partied. Denise and Lisa partied all night on Saturday, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
I know.
Pretty much.
Chris got there at the end when we were all tired, already for bed. But okay, Denise, I know you're not a big Bronco fan, but we'll do your team. We'll do your Saints, and we'll do the Broncos. What direction do you see the Broncos going in? In the coming
they're gonna. I agree with what Gary said. I think Elway will, choose the right people. He knows what to look for. So yeah, I think the offensive line needs to be changed up a little. Maybe the coordinator will help out with that. I don't know. But they're a contender. I think they always will be.
We got the defense.
Yeah, definitely. So I think the offensive line needs to get beefed up a little bit. Again, I think like I said, I agree with Gary. Leave it up to Elway. He knows what they need, and he goes after what they need. So they're going to be a contender again. I think that's a gimme. It really is. They've got the personnel for it. So, it was when they announced that when Wade Phillips going. But again, you can't have personal things going on within the team and play well. So maybe it'll be a good thing. I don't know.
But you know what though? Wade Phillips' system isn't going anywhere because both the head coach Vance Joseph and the new defensive coordinator both learned under Wade Phillips. So the system's going to be the same. The players are going to be the same. So I don't see a big change in the defense. The defense all they're going to do is get better.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the defense is cohesive. They're good. They are good.
As long as they could re-sign the troublemaker. No, everybody knows who I'm talking about. He's a great player when he's playing. He makes a lot of trouble. That's the only thing that upsets me about him.
What chain?
What's that?
What chain?
I can't say again.
What chain?
Oh, yeah, snatching chains. Whose chain was it? No, I'm just joking. Talib is one of the greatest corners I've seen play the game of football. He is so fast, and he's always in the right position. He just has a bad attitude.
he gets into the game. He's so emotional.
Yeah.
That's all. But he is awesome. I like him. I really do. Yeah, there's a lot more worse troublemakers than he is. Believe me.
And then the next thing they got to do is they got to shore up that middle linebacker position. They got to get some depth there because both middle linebackers that we have, Marshall and Davis, both are injury prone. So you got to bring somebody in.
They've got to have some decent backup.
And then you also have
what team was it? I can't even remember now. They were down to third and fourth string already. I mean, they were getting people in because they were all out.
Yeah.
I can't remember which team that was, but
Brandon Marshall and Todd Davis are awesome players. I think that Brandon Marshall is actually better than the linebacker we lost the year before, Danny Trevathan. The problem is that he's banged up. He'll play 2 or 3 games, then he's banged up 2 or 3 games, and that's the same thing with Todd Davis. And that's one of the problems we had. It was that middle linebacker position. They couldn't cover the tight ends, and then they couldn't stop the run. So the next thing I want to bring up is the 4 and 5 technique. Them defensive tackles, we didn't have the strength. Sylvester Williams. Great player. Hopefully we get to re-sign him. I like him. I think he's an awesome player, but he just didn't do his job this year, and so I think they're going to sign somebody at the defensive tackle position. They just signed somebody this week at defensive tackle, but that's a journeyman defensive tackle. So we'll see what happens there, and then we get over to the offensive line. Yes, we need work on that offensive line. But you got to remember, they were trying to run the West Coast offense, and you have to remember it takes 2 to 3 years for the offensive line to get in sync with that. So it takes a couple years. And last year was basically they didn't run it. They were running a hybrid because of Peyton Manning. They were running a hybrid West Coast offense. So they didn't really get a chance to run. They really didn't get a chance to just focus on the West Coast offense. They had to kind of play to Peyton Manning's abilities to make the team stronger. So they didn't really get to run the offense. So last year in Gary Kubiak's second year as a Bronco head coach was the first time they really tried to run the West Coast offense. And Trevor Siemian could not run it. He could not run the bootleg. There was this thing, he was hurt. He couldn't go right. He couldn't throw left. So there was just too many flaws in his game. Everybody says, wow, he's this, he's that. But in all reality, he needs 2 or 3 years of work. He's a great backup right now. I've said it for a long time. He's a great backup. He's just not a starting player. The other thing is he was injured most of the season this year with that shoulder. I know it wasn't the throwing shoulder, but it's going to take velocity off the ball when he's throwing it. Also, it's going to hurt accuracy, even if it's the opposite shoulder. So, yeah, I want to see him come back and compete and fight for a job. I want to see Trevor Siemian come back and fight for a job. But I honestly don't think he's going to beat out Paxton Lynch. And if they do go ahead, I hope they don't do this, but if they do go ahead and bring in Tony Romo, it's gonna come down to Paxton Lynch and Tony Romo. I'm gonna put that out there for everybody. I hope that don't happen, but because I see Paxton Lynch as the future, if he could play the position. Well, here's the thing: he can run the West Coast offense. I watched it. I watched him run the naked bootleg and left, right, either way he could do it and get the ball downfield. Problem with Trevor Siemian is every time he tried to run it, he would stop mid between the tackles instead of getting outside of the tackle and try to extend in the play. And that's where Trevor Siemian had a hard time. And that's why you saw Trevor Siemian not running the West Coast offense that we're accustomed to.
Yeah, well, I don't think he's effective, very effective quarterback. Backup, yes. Let's hope they don't bring Tony Romo. Oh, God. Oh, he should just retire. I'm sorry, but
Tony Romo is actually a good quarterback. But here we go back into the injury thing. one little thing and he's injured. And our offensive line is not as good as the Dallas Cowboys offensive line. So
There we go.